Hess and Tangen. All right, so I've reviewed your motion in order to show cause. And if is there any other information that you want to let me know about or argue at this point?
So the numbers have changed a little bit because when I originally filed this was not for contempt of childcare arrears. This was for the non-payment because we went to court in October, and that's when the new child support amount was set. And then he stopped paying in October, and that's why I filed the contempt. But since then, the numbers have changed a little. He's made a few payments since then, but there's still an outstanding balance. And still not doing it in a one-time payment on the first of every month. It's all over the place.
Okay, so the motion in order to show cause was filed after the new order of support was entered on October 11th. And that does indicate that starting on October of 2023, they would be a payment on the first of the month of $509. Is that your understanding of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And was there, it looks like on that order, and I don't know that it's directly addressed, it says that each party will pay a proportional share of work or education related daycare. So, and I know that that was part of, that's in your motion, and it may not be exactly what you're asking for the contempt for, but I just wanted to, so, okay. How much, so as of when you filed the motion in order to show cause, it appeared that, at that point, you said no payments had been made since September. So that would be September, October, November, and it was filed in November. So 3 months of non-payment. Now you're indicating that some payments have been made since the contempt was filed?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe maybe that is read. So basically what happened, so he did pay in September. So October, when we went to court and they increased the child support amount, in October, I did not receive a payment at all. I had to file contempt papers at the time he had an attorney. After I tried to reach out to him and said, hey, I haven't received a payment in over a month, plus there's an outstanding balance of childcare that is has been due for, well, it's been added to the case for about 8 months now. They've had a really hard time getting him to make any attempts on the payments. And so then November, he made a $600 payment. And how my child care worker told me about that, the caseworker, she indicated that they take for the current. So when he paid 600 in November, 509 goes towards November's child support. So that's paid in full, and 91 went towards the balance of October's. Then in December, he made another, but then again, it's kind of all over the place and still not in the one time or on a specific day. He made another $600 child support payment. And so again, they counted that 509 towards December's to be in full, added the 91 towards October. Still have, like I said, the balance with the child care. And then I just got, to my knowledge, this morning, after calling the child support line, I guess he, on December 22nd, so last Friday, he it says there's 2 payments waiting to be processed, one for 200, one for 50. But when I talked to the child support worker's assistant today, because I think she was busy when she replied, she indicated it's still over $700.
$700 in arrears?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be part of October and then whatever happened pre-September.
Yes, because originally in our parenting plan years ago, when you guys went in October and adjusted the child support, everything we got told was stays the same. So the other portion of that is the child care, because he was supposed to be paying for the last 8 years, his portion of daycare expenses. That's in our first order. They said that it ties over into the second one, and he's never once paid daycare expenses.
And how do you give him notice of what that cost is?
Our child support worker, and there has been times where I've let him know on the phone. There's been texts that have my son goes to daycare, who to contact, as far as to where he can make his payments, because it's supposed to be made to the Childcare Center. And I just touched base with my childcare because I work full time, and they have never received a payment from him. And I have the print offs for the last 8 years.
Okay, but your contempt today is for child support. Is that correct?
It's for the child support and arrears. Yeah. I guess that's.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. And that 568.86 is what the non-paid daycare expenses are at this point.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
It's
thank
actually
you.
$586.68.
I have 86.68. Okay.
Oh, maybe it is 68. Sorry.
Okay. I appreciate you answering those questions. Mr. Hess, if you could unmute. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
I did receive your declaration affidavit and I was able to review that. Is there, I'd like to hear from you of anything that you'd like to let me know.
I have actually never been contacted until recently about the child care portion whatsoever. When that was initially put in, it was explained that those costs were to be submitted to the state, and the state would add that into my monthly child support. That has never been done whatsoever. Ms. Tangen has been informed of my financial situation due to my injuries and such since March, and had actually said that she was never even going to go in for a modification and was happy with the $400 a month she was getting. So all of this has happened knowing that I do not have money and that I'm struggling on a daily basis just to make ends meet. And I have done everything in my power to continue to make payments. I was gone in October. I received a form in the mail, which I tried to find, but I currently do not have, but from the Division of Child Support, saying they were going to be garnishing the child support from my disability. When I got back from dealing with my father's stuff, I called them because I had received a voicemail from our caseworker, talked to her, and then she had informed me that because it was not retirement and that it was disability, they would not be garnishing it. So that is when I started going to the SAW website and submitting the payments myself. And even, which I had already done there in November, but due to a holiday, it did not go through until the 16th, I believe. And then in December, I was able to submit it on the 1st, but it still does not process until the 6th. So I do not get paid until the 1st. And I try everything in my power to get this done in a timely manner. But I also have to ensure that my family is provided for. I've provided documentation showing the payment history, that I've never missed a month at all, even since being out of work. And that was the first one. And justifications for such. I really do not feel that having to pay tax on any of this is very tasteful in the situation, but that's my current situation with things. I'm
Can I-
doing everything I can.
All right, I appreciate that. Can I ask you a few questions? First, and I want to address this. I'm sorry about the loss of your father. That I am sure is immensely difficult, and that always puts a hitch in things. You indicated on just now, and then in your declaration about the notice for the daycare expenses, and I know that isn't necessarily a specific allegation, it's just sort of an aside in the motion for contempt. Would your it appears to me that it was ordered your proportional share of daycare expenses. So is there a way for that? Is your preference let me start over. Would your preference be to have that be in one payment every month, or that parsed out and done separately based on the need and the amounts?
I was always under the assumption that whatever the need and amounts were would be added into my monthly child's support. So if it was $30, I would, my next bill would be $539, and I would be able to provide that. Whether it's added in or a separate one that shows up and I get notification of, either or is fine by me. It's just when it goes for 8 years and then knowing that I'm in a financial hardship, then it's all thrown at me at once. It's extremely difficult to even attempt to try to come up with that.
Okay, and I guess Ms. Tangen, is the child support average the same month to month, or does it vary based on extracurricular activities, work schedules, or is it kind of the same on a regular basis?
The payment is the same every month. It does not change, Your Honor.
Okay, and what is that payment?
So I pay $90 a month. And obviously, that's for 2 children. Obviously, he's only responsible for one. So I believe,
$45.
yeah,
So-
it's 45, but it's
His
he's
portion
only
of $45.
yeah, he's only
Okay.
due for not the full 45, just his portion of it, of the 45. And Your Honor, I'd like to add one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
So this ongoing, the childcare and the payments being all over the place during the month and nothing being ever easy. I do want to bring up that we did have an old childcare worker, Josh Bixler, who is now, Sarah Phillips is now the current. Josh is the one that started the process with me after he realized that Mr. Hess was not making the payments to the daycare center. Once that got brought to my attention, Division of Child Support had me fill out those forms. And they tried to send emails, documentation. They tried to serve him with notice of, this is the debt we've added to your case, and explain to him why. They tried to do that for 8 months and they got nowhere.
That's because nobody served me until all the way up into September. Nobody came to my house with any of it or anything.
Your
I was
Honor,
never served.
just like to state that he received numerous voicemails, asked to please return. Division of Child Support sent him numerous things in the mail asking to be returned, voicemails, and they tried for over 8 months.
Okay,
And-
so here's where we're at. In order to find a contempt, the court has to feel confident that there is a willful and an intentional violation of a direct court order. So that's what the parameters we're working under here. I'm in doing the math, $45 a month, and I have a 60-40 split as far as the proportional share, 60 to Mr. Hess, 40 to Ms. Tangen. So that would be my math, which I wouldn't feel offended if anybody double checked, would be $24 a month. That would be Mr. Hess's responsibility of that 45. I think the ideal situation would be if the 509 a month becomes 523 a month, and then there's no issues. If there's a way that needs to happen so it's recorded appropriately, then I would ask both parties to participate in getting whatever paperwork or calling whomever back to do what they need to do to make that happen. Clearly, there are some arrears, and I understand Mr. Hess's response to there being insufficient notice for that. It sounds as though the expenses have been relatively stationary and consistent for some time. And I do note the child, I think, is 10 or 11 years old at this point. And I apologize that I don't see the age specifically. So, given all the circumstances surrounding Mr. Hess, he also did provide in his declaration a debt calculation sheet, which clearly there's been a significant amount of debt for a period of time, but he also has been very consistent after it looks like once we got into 2019, we've had some really consistent payments. And it really isn't until October of 2023 where we have our first non-payment. So I have from November of 2019 all the way to October 2023 where every payment was done on time according to, and this is the debt calculation sheet that the Washington State Division of Child Support authors and sends in. So I appreciate that being there. Based on that information and all the circumstances that Mr. Hess has recently dealt with, I don't know that I can find that it was a willful and an intentional violation. I do understand the frustration, and my hope is there can be some work together to help on arrears. There are some arrears there, Mr. Hess, based on that, your proportional share of the daycare. But in looking at that, I mean, it's under $600. So to maintain that and catch up on that, I think hopefully is doable without too much difficulty moving forward. But I don't think I can find an intentional and willful violation of the court order, especially when we have overpayments essentially for November and December. And my calculations would show that those two $91 overpayments from November and December plus the additional $250 puts him at just shy of what he would owe for October. So granted, we're still dealing with some arrears from the other things. I'm not making a finding of a willful and intentional violation of the court order.
So can I ask a question, Your Honor?
Of course you can.
One of the reasons as to why I brought up the contempt is because the fact after talking with the child support worker and like learning like how kind of like all this works in the courts, I got told it would be in my good intention to bring this to the court's attention because of the fact, granted, he was doing great with payments for a long time, like you said, because they were being taken out like from when he was working. However, I have the original court order that the judge signed, was that 8 years ago? Stated that it needed to be in a one-time payment on the first of every month. In the 8 years that this has been in effect, I have never been paid what I'm supposed to be paid on the date that the judge said. So the courthouse is actually who told me it's contempt.
And I think in the white letter reading of the law, it probably is a contempt because even the most recent court ordered support was monthly child support must be paid starting October 2023 in one payment each month by the first day of the month. So I get that, and I get the frustration if that order, which likely matches the historical orders. So I mean, the fact that you filed a contempt is on record. It's shown, Mr. Hess, you are, technically, if this continues to happen, Ms. Tangen could very well file more contempts. You could be found in contempt for not following that court order. And I understand your needs for your current family. This is a court order and it is what it is. If the two of you can work together and we can do an adjustment to the 5th of every month, if that allows for time for the payment and to sort the finances and make a payment on the 5th of the month, I don't know that you necessarily have to work through the court to do that. If you can get an agreement with Child Support Registry, but maybe that's something you should consider.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
I was under the assumption from the very beginning that the 1st of the month meant I needed to be current by the 1st of the following month. That's even how, like, for tax purposes, that's how it reads, is that I have to be current by the 31st of January or prior to the 1st of February to be able to claim him on my taxes. When I'm working, they pull it from my paychecks. That's why Miss Tangen has never received a payment on the 1st of every month, because even the state pulls it from paychecks and then processes it and puts it through. So it's virtually impossible, even if I get back to work and everything, that she would receive a payment on the 1st of every month for that month. It would mean that I would have to have the payment processed prior to by a week or two for that to even happen.
So if you're garnished, the date isn't really, that part kind of isn't as significant. But at least the most recent order for support directly says in one payment each month by the 1st day of the month. So that's what the court order says. If it's a garnishment, I highly doubt if the state's garnishing it and it's coming through that avenue. Ms. Tangen knows that the support's coming. So she's likely, and I don't know, Ms. Tangen is free to do whatever she needs to do, but my assumption would be that in a garnishment situation, she's not going to file a contempt because she knows the money's coming, and that it'll come kind of consistently, even though it may not be the 1st of the month. The order specifically says 1st of the month, and even the past order says that it's due on the 1st of the month. If you need that to be something different, then by all means, you can make a motion to the court to have that addressed. But that's how I read it, is that it needs to be paid on the 1st of the month. If the two of you agree to the 3rd, the 5th, and that there won't be contempts based on that, then that's what the two of you decide to do. But as for today's purposes, I'm not finding a contempt, but I am giving you notice that Mr. Hess, that that's what the order says. That's what you're required to do. And you also are required that proportional share of daycare. So hopefully moving forward, the two of you can sort this out.
Your Honor, so that way there is no confusion between me and him. So that way, with the childcare that you said, so what was the number? His portion of the 45.
Oh, I did it at $24 is what my math.
Yeah. Which I'm sure you're correct. I don't have a calculator in front of me. But I was wondering, so based on, as long as I'm receiving, because obviously, like I said, I filed contempt because I stopped getting child support and it was a long time before I got one. As long as the child support is going to be made. But my question is, so that way it might make it a little bit easier for the both of us, is in our order, the last one that was signed, it states that he is supposed to make the daycare payment directly to the facility.
It does, yes.
I would actually like that way. Neither one of us has to file papers or anything. Leave the child support at what it's at when it's due. And if he could make that $24 payment to, I have the lady, the center's name, the fax number, the provider number of who he can make payments to. That would be very much easier.
Mr. Hess, are you agreeable to make the payment straight to the facility if she provides you the contact information for them?
No, I would much rather it be collected through the state, because then there is no chance of receipts being lost or anything of that nature, and the state actually has a record that it is being paid.
All right, then you need to take the steps to ensure that's happening. Otherwise, she can continue to file contempts if you don't pay those fees.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you both.